an eye out.
Get another angle!
Roger that! Ah!
Move out, Rob! We're under attack!
Here! Jesus!
Fuck! Ambush!
Jesus! Watch it! Watch it! Right.
Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Today I just wanted to talk a little bit about immigration and about how the left completely controls the frame for immigration, and because they're so stupid and ill-read and just do not understand history, how detrimental it is. So today I'd like to present my own frame through which immigration should be viewed. So to set the frame, I will just ask one simple question. Of the recent Pakistanis that captured the tourist and burnt him alive and beat him and dragged him around in the street, what percentage of those Pakistanis should we allow to immigrate to the free West? It's a simple question. The question presupposes that there is a percentage that the left would like to bring to the free West. My answer is very simple. 0%. 0% of those Pakistanis that formed a mob and beat and burnt that man to death and dragged his dead body around on fire in the street for desecrating the Quran. 0 of that mob should be allowed to immigrate to Australia. And you want to know something? The left would not be able to find and rule out a single one of that mob. Do you know why? Because in Pakistan, none of that mob, to date, it may have changed recently, but to the point I'm making here, still not one of that mob has been arrested. Meaning they could easily lie about it and we would never know. We would never know if they immigrated to Australia. But look, it doesn't have to be violent recent events. It could be something as simple as principles within a society. Some principles of which that stem from, let's say, Islamic teaching and Islamic theocracy. For example, let's consider for a moment the institution of child marriage. In the West, that is outright considered pedophilia. It is a crime. We throw you in prison for that crime. Christians want to chain a millstone about your neck and cast you into the sea for that crime. Okay. In Turkey, 1/3 of all marriages, look it up on Google, are child marriages. That means by default, if you allow a man to immigrate, a married man, there is a chance that by default he is already guilty of pedophilia. Would you, well, the left, they have a real soft spot for pedophilia for some reason, but you ask any single decent person on the right or the centre if they would want to allow pedophiles to immigrate to a country like Australia, they would say no. They would say no outright. And look, Turkey's not the only country with that. Syria and Jordan, they vary between 5 and 20%. Like a ton of Islamic theocracies stemming from the teaching of Muhammad as the ideal conduct of a man, and Aisha with Sharia law. Like a ton of that, okay? By default in the West, that's pedophilia. That is incompatible with our way of life. Period. It makes no sense to me. And I reckon we should, allow zero of those people to immigrate, especially if they want to not only continue with that behaviour, but enforce it upon us. So change our culture to match it, i.e. implement Sharia law. That is completely unacceptable for the Free West. It should not even consider this. And that is not the only behaviour here in question. There's other behaviours as well. For example, the treatments of gays and women in Islamic theocracies. That's completely incompatible with the West as well. Not only just the West that is incompatible with, it is incompatible with the tolerant left's ideas of mass immigration. The theoretical tolerant left, they should in theory be all about women's rights and gay rights. In Islamic theocracies, they're non-existent. You can't make it up. The left seems to be pushing so hard for just increasing the amount of Tinder in the society in order to try and drive revolution. It's doing this through mass immigration and mass conflict between culture. If you import and do not subsequently integrate a ton of people from Islamic theocracies, you are going to have a ton of conflict within your country. That's going to cause chaos and violence. It's going to demand a dictatorial response. It's going to grant the government more power. That's how these problems are usually solved. And you know what? The government then subsequently, once it has seized power, does not then solve them. It is a power grab for the left. The level of insane tolerance of other absolutely inferior, atrocious cultures by the left, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Objectively you can say the Christian Free West has superior culture to every other culture. Technologically speaking, in terms of freedoms, in terms of quality of life, all around Christian Free West wins. You want to compare it to communist North Korea, where you will be subjected to famine and oppression for your entire life. The same applies to China, where you replace the dear leader with the Communist Party. It's crazy. Even countries that are allegedly right-wing, let's say former Imperial Japan, which had a emperor, godlike figure leading the country. Even countries like that, they're not really right-wing. And do you really want to be tolerant of that country? Do you know what that country decided to do to Chinese people to try and improve its weapons in order to be able to, conduct conquest easier? And then you want to make the case that they're right-wing, even though, individual property rights were pretty much non-existent in that country. Individual freedoms were pretty much non-existent. Everything was in service to the state through the emperor. You want to make the case that that's a right-wing country, do you? It's fucking insane to me. And like all those cultures are just inferior. Like outright inferior. But no, you get the case from these leftists, and they say no, cultural relativism. They're all equal. We would have done no different in their position. Culture is like a trellis, okay? It controls the way humans grow. Now, you can have a good trellis that creates a fruitful, productive society that feeds its people, gives them freedoms, gives them property rights. They flourish. They flourish economically. The Free West has flourished. It is the superpower at the moment. The only reason China is able to compete with the Free West is because the Free West has given it a handout. And even then, it is now trying to destroy the Free West. Like, it has bitten the hand that has fed it.
That was something.
Then, okay, so suppose that's one type of trellis from which the human can grow and flourish. Let's have a look at another type of trellis, shall we? Let's have a look at Islam. It is horribly restrictive in a violent purity spiral in so many ways. The current religious authority of Islam is the supreme leader of Iran. They are directing pretty much all of the other Islamic theocracies in a global caliphate to attempt to unite and destroy Israel by proxy. If this isn't obvious, it should be simply obvious by looking at the past wars that have happened with Israel, where every single one of its Islamic theocratic majority neighbors has ganged up on it and attempted to destroy it. It should be obvious. And think about the ways it like limits people. Like not only economically, like okay, so it doesnent preach tolerance. It doesn't preach gay tolerance, doesn't preach tolerance of women. You've just eliminated half of your productive workforce by not being tolerant towards women, by not being tolerant towards gays, by not being allowed freedom in the arts and freedom of criticism of political culture. You've led to political stagnation. That political stagnation has then become a purity spiral within the framework of Islam, so only the most fervent and radical are able to seize power because the rest are easily outed for not following the teachings of Islam. So you've got a violent terroristic purity spiral in Islam where the people are just completely trodden on. Have a look at how Iran basically treats journalists and protests. They just shoot them. Like, so you've got no tolerance whatsoever. Like, which trellis would you rather live in to grow and flourish? The Christian Free West trellis or the Islamic trellis? It's like so simple. And like, it's completely morally inferior too. Like, just the basics. Like, you read the Christian 10 Commandments, you know what you're getting, they make sense. Okay, have a look at the Islamic formation of society. Okay, so you're going to put a permanent tax on Christians in your land, Christians and Jews. You're not going to tolerate atheism at all. The tax is going to be called the jizya. It's going to create a two-tiered society of Islamic supremacy. Okay, that type of society in Turkey directly led to the Greek, Assyrian, and Armenian genocides. Like, it's obviously an inferior structure, right? And it was predictable that it would end that way. When you create a supremacist two-tiered society, like, okay, granted, it's not based on race, but it is still based on supremacy of ideology. The same thing as Marxism. The same reason why Marxism led to like so many starvation deaths. It is still a supremacist ideology in which you can persecute a minority. Like, it should be fucking obvious. And like, none of this is racist, because I didn't say Arabs once, I said Muslims. Okay? Muslims are not a race, it is a religion and political ideology. It has nothing to do with race, it has nothing to do with genetics. It's like a trellis. I treat all people as being equal, okay? Equal to grow in their own ways. I don't fully buy into the whole bell curve theory of difference in IQ based on race that some people have made. I think most of those differences in IQ are from inferior governments and inferior ideologies leading the governments, leading to things like malnutrition, lack of opportunity for education, and like oppression, things like that. And they limit people, they limit their ability to, you know, get a high IQ. It's not that they are racially inferior, it's that the structure they are growing in has a ceiling and it's just holding them down. Like the same for Muslims. Like, there's a reason why all their countries suck, right? And all their countries like are involved with, you know, proxy terrorism and massacres of Christians, like particularly in like the African like continent. You wouldn't say there is a good one to live in, right? Because like every now and then, like, as much as the news tries to hide them, like there's massacres and there's like murdered tourists and there's like burnt and beaten alive people, like the tourist in Pakistan not long ago. Like, this happens regularly on Jihad Watch. To say nothing of like the honor killings, like when it is attempting to integrate with the West. Like, we should not be tolerant of that. We should either, you know, just get rid of them, send them back to their own countries where they're free to practice their horrible religious theocracy, or throw them in jail for the criminals they are. They've come to our country, our countries. They are subject to our laws. They do not get special treatment for, you know, from our laws because they have an inferior ideology. You wouldn't treat a Nazi who sees himself superior and beats a Jew, you wouldn't treat him differently under the law because of some sort of stupid leftist tolerance towards Nazism. Why are we doing it with Islam? They see themselves as superior. They see themselves as above our laws. Like, it makes no sense. Oh, and I will shout it every day, all day. The Nazis are not right-wing. They completely seize and control economy through workers' unions in the name of the state. That is as left-wing authoritarian as you can get. Property rights there were bullshit because they were completely subject to membership of unions, which subsequently controlled markets. That, by definition, is not property rights. That, by definition, is not a free market. Ergo, they are authoritarian left, not right-wing. Oh, and the left is not helping this situation at all. They are preaching their basically racial division and racial victimization, and attempting to implement taxes based on the racial victimization while they import mass numbers of people that are allegedly racially victimized into the country. To me, that just looks like a ploy to increase taxes. Like, like it couldn't be more obvious to me. Like, okay, you're essentially just a thief and you want to take more of other people's money at that point, and you're using lies and a narrative to do it.
Watch it!
It's actually worse than that. They're not just using lies and a narrative to rob you. They're using the force and the apparatus of the state to rob you. Which is significantly worse. Because if you don't pay taxes, you go to prison. That is to say, you are physically assaulted by police and then kidnapped and held against your will by the state.
God damn.
Great.
It's only a matter of time! Damn it!
Damn
Jesus.
Christ almighty.